Hello YugiTube, it's Emma Blue Eyes 10 here. Welcome to Q&A number 14, and I hope you guys enjoy. Now, thank you very much for all your questions. I've got quite a lot of questions this time, so I do apologise in advance if this is a very long video. Some of those who are new to my channel are probably wondering why I'm wearing glasses. Well, I have to take a break from my contacts lenses every once in a while, so that's why I'm wearing glasses for this video, because I actually feel a bit more comfortable. I've given my eyes a bit of a rest today and everything. So anyway, let's get started, shall we? First question is from Manjas0823. Have you heard about the new Dragon Star archetype and would you play with them? Have you heard about the new Ritual Dragon monster, Saphira Dragon Princess? Are you going to get the Lightsworn structure deck when it comes out, since you used to have a Lightsworn deck? Right, the first answer to your question, Manjas, is that I haven't actually heard about the new Dragon Star type, so I'm not entirely sure what they are. From what I understand is that they're like dragons but not dragons, apparently. That's the way it's been explained to me so far. Like they're illusion dragons or something like that. So it's interesting, but I haven't actually delved into it too deeply. I've heard about the Ritual Dragon monster. I think she was called the Goddess Dragon in Japanese, and I think she's very interesting. You know, I might consider running her in a possible Blue Eyes deck or something. I'm not too sure yet, but she's got a very good effect. Really pretty artwork, I have to admit, as well. Good stats and everything. And you know, if I can get her one day, then I'll get her one day. But for the moment, that's far in the future. As for the Lightsworn structure deck, no, I will not be getting that, because I did, for some of those who don't know, I did used to run a Lightsworn deck a few years ago, but unfortunately it didn't work out for me. I always had Lightsworns. I thought they were a cool archetype, but they weren't really my playstyle. I couldn't use the deck right, even with all the practice I did do. You know, I just kept on milling myself out, or not using the deck correctly, basically, and everything, because I'm so used to playing with Blue Eyes and the Crystal Beast and everything. So no, I won't be getting the Lightsworn structure deck or anything like that. So hope that answers your question there, Manjas. Next question is from Eddie Velquez 55. I am really sorry if I've butchered your name, or if I butcher anyone's name in this Q&A. How old were you when you first started dueling, and do you think it's awesome that I love Blue Eyes as well? How old was I? I was about 14, 15 when I first started dueling. So that would be around about 2004, 2003, 2004 I started dueling and everything, so I was about 14, 15 years old when I started. And yes, it is awesome that you like Blue Eyes as well. I mean, Blue Eyes is an awesome archetype. It should always be the best archetype ever, really. Sadly it isn't, but oh well. It's pretty awesome that you like Blue Eyes. I mean, there's probably lots of people who really like the Blue Eyes archetype, you know, because it is a classic boss monster and everything, and it's the most recognisable monster besides Dark Magician and Kuriboh and everything. So, and it's also Kazuki Takahashi's, the author of Yu-Gi-Oh's, favourite monster in the game as well. So, you know, hail to the Blue Eyes. Next question is from Bobby Oram. What made you start playing Yu-Gi-Oh? It was actually entirely by accident, to be honest. You know, I just caught an advertisement for ITV3's channel. You know, I caught an advertisement for the Yu-Gi-Oh! And it was talking about Egyptian hieroglyphs and pharaohs and everything. I thought, look, that's interesting. Anime actually based on ancient Egypt, because as you guys know, I am an archaeologist, and Egyptology is what really got me into like ancient history and all that. And to see an anime with Egyptian roots and that was pretty awesome, and I started watching the anime, and then 6 months later I got my first deck. So it was really, the whole thing that got me into Yu-Gi-Oh! Was literally like the historical theme behind it, you know, the ancient themes and everything. You know, with original Duel Monsters, there's been some slight Roman influence with the Crystal Beast, there's the Egyptian influence behind the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, the Inca, and South American ancient tribes and stuff as well, for 5Ds and everything. You know, pretty interesting, and it roped me into it, and I liked the storyline, I liked the dueling and everything, and I just went with it. So that's kind of what got me really into it, I suppose. Next question is from Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Lee. What would you run if Blue Eyes did not exist? That's a very good question, actually. Tough question. Oh, I don't know. If I was to go back to the original Yu-Gi-Oh, if I was to start with the original Yu-Gi-Oh, I think I'd be torn between a Dark Magician deck and a Harpy Lady deck. Now, bearing in mind Harpy Ladies were never really properly supported until a good few years later and until recently, more than likely I would have been playing Dark Magician, because Yugimoto Oriyama Yugi was my favourite character when the anime in that first came out, and when the anime in that first came out as well. I didn't like Blue Eyes until I actually saw the 2004 Pyramid of Light movie. Until then, I'd literally been playing just a pure Dark Magician deck. So more than likely it probably would have been Dark Magician or Harpy Lady, depending on the circumstance and everything. If I was to talk about modern times, if I got into the game in a modern time, I'm not entirely too sure. Probably Chaos Dragons. I've always liked that archetype. It's an interesting archetype. So I think Chaos Dragons would be if I got to Yu-Gi-Oh! In a modern way, if Blue Eyes didn't exist. But if I was going back to my roots, it would probably definitely be a Dark Magician deck. So I hope that answers your question there. Next question is from How To Dude. Who do you believe is a better monster, Slifer the Sky Dragon or his synchro counterpart, which I think is Dracendion, I think, the Sky Dragon? I would say Slifer the Sky Dragon overall, just because, well, it is a god monster and everything, and, you know, in the anime at least, god monsters are made to be almost indestructible. I mean, I think Dracian, something, it's along those lines anyway, has a really good effect and everything as well. But I would personally choose Slifer, just because, you know, he's the Egyptian god monster and everything. But the synchro version of it is actually pretty good if you know how to use it correctly and everything. I mean, it's got very similar effects and everything, but I just think Slifer's a better monster overall, so there you go. Okay, next question is from PrettyVicky95. If you could get any Yu-Gi-Oh card in the whole game for free, which single card would you ask for? Oh, well, any single card. Well, the one card I really would like to have, and I would probably run it right now, is the secret rare Blue Eyes Shining Dragon from Retro Pack 2. Definitely that, because that card is unbelievably expensive, but then again, apparently secrets in Retro Pack 2 were very hard to get. That's the one card I really would love to have in my collection right now. If you're talking about something, if you were talking about a card I would like to see, there we go. If we were talking about the whole game, including like World Championship cards and stuff like that, I would ask for an original Legendary Dragon of White XYZ monster card, because that was pretty awesome. Of course, it cannot be used in a real life duel unless you're not playing officially, mind you, but I would love to have that. But number one would be the Blue Eyes Shining Dragon Secret Rare, and the other one would definitely be Legendary Dragon of White. I know that's two cards, but those are the only two cards I would really would like to have at the moment in the game. Okay, next question is from Justin Mann. What is your favourite deck? Well, if my name isn't really a clue as to what is my favourite deck, then yeah, it's Blue Eyes White Dragon. Simple, hands down. Next question is from the movie Loverboy. Have you participated in tournaments? If a card of all the series was to be made in real life, which would it be? If you created a card, what would it be? Right, first answer is that yes, I have participated in tournaments. I've got two playlists on my channel. One is at the Mad for Miniatures tournaments down in Cornwall. I started going to them in 2009 and I came out of them in 2008, so there's one playlist. The other one was local Edinburgh tournaments when they were up and running a couple of years ago. And I've got a playlist for that as well if you want to have a look. Now, bear in mind these were a couple of years ago, so the decks and everything were, my deck and everything was a lot different back then in comparison to what it is now. But unfortunately I haven't been able to go to any local tournaments since the Edinburgh one's finished, I think about 2 years ago now, sadly. And I will admit, it's something I really miss, is going to actual proper tournaments. I just cannot afford to go to them, unfortunately, at the moment, sadly. But I would love to go again if I get the chance, but sadly, at this point, I'm not participating in any participating? Is that even a word? Participating in any current tournaments at the moment, but I have been to some. If all cards series out in real life, oh, good question, good grief. I'm not entirely sure, in all honesty. A lot of cards that I wanted to come out like a few years ago have sort of come out now. I don't know, I mean, with the Blue Eyes, I don't think there's really any other Blue Eyes cards I can think of that were just anime and they came out and everything. That's a really good question. I don't think I've really got an answer for that, in all honesty. I can't really think off the top of my head what card I would like to see come out. I'm not actually too sure about that. I don't think there's... I can't really think of anything, to be honest, so I'm really sorry I can't answer your question there. I mean, if I remember later on in the video what it is I would like to see, then I'll probably come back to you and mention that, but at the moment I'm kind of a bit blank about it. As for a card I would like to create, it would be a... I would like to do a Blue Eyes card. Now, I know there's already an XYZ Blue Eyes, the Legendary Dragon of White, but I would probably make a more generic one for anybody to use. And it was actually an idea I got a long time ago, and I think there might be a video on my channel where I actually drew a kind of rough sketch of what it might look like, actually. And I would call it like the Blue Eyes Quartz Dragon, because... and it would be an XYZ monster, like 2 or 3 level 8s or something, and it'd have like an effect that would be specific for the Blue Eyes archetype, but then it'd have a generic effect that could probably affect just any dragon type. I'm not entirely sure what kind of effects they would be or anything, but it'd probably be something along those lines. But I would call it the Blue Eyes Quartz Dragon, because Crystal Drag, if I was to call it Crystal Drag, I think that'd be a bit too cliche. I call it, but Quartz is like a pure stone, you know, when it's pure white and everything and clear, which is kind of like what a Blue Eyes is. It's a pure white creature, but Quartz can also be slightly blue-white or purple, or, you know, depending on what isotope impurities get mixed in with the quartz and everything, then it can change different colours and everything. But that's probably what I would be, and please excuse the noise there. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Movie Lover Boy. As I said, if I remember what card it is that I would like to see come out from the anime series or anything, then I'll hopefully remember later on in the video. If not, then I would suggest you probably just ask that question again in another Q&A later in the future. Okay. Right, next question is from Vampirizam. What is more important, draw power or search power? What happened to the Harpy deck you were building? In how many years do you identically want to have a child? Some very good questions there. You know, some personal questions there. I mean, guys, if you want to ask any like personal questions or anything, then you're more than welcome to, as long as they're not too, you know, too personal. But those kind of questions are actually very, very good there. I think for draw power and search power, both are very important. I honestly think that, but I would think in my personal opinion, I think draw power is a little bit more important in the way that with search abilities they can be limited and they can be negated to some extent quite easily by a lot of things. With draw power, yes, they can still be negated and everything, but with draw power you get through the deck a lot quicker than you do with search, because once people, especially if it's a search monster or anything, you know, people can choose whether or not to destroy it or attack it or anything, whereas with magic cards and all that, you know, of course that can be played immediately and everything like that, but there's more draw cards I think than there is search cards, so I think to some extent draw power is a little bit more important, because I feel personally it gets through the deck a bit quicker, whereas search card, in some cases some search cards need to, you know, wait for certain conditions and that to be activated in order to get their effects and everything. So that's just my personal opinion though. I still have a Harpy Lady deck online. Just in real life, unfortunately, I am not going to be able to build it because Harpy Ladies are very popular, especially at the locals where I am. From what I can tell from the Facebook page I'm on, Harpy Ladies are still pretty good over there, and they're very hard to get at my locals at the moment and everything. So I wouldn't be surprised if when the Harpy Ladies eventually go out of fashion, that's when I'll get the real life deck build. But at the moment, I still have the Harpy Lady deck online. There is going to be a deck update on that very soon, along with some duel videos. But at the moment, the real life deck is pretty much on hold until further notice. Well, the third question, is quite touching, because, I'm coming up for 25, my 25th birthday this year, and I've always seen myself as quite a maternal sort of person, and I do want to have a family. I really do wish to have a family, because, I've had such a happy family life with my mum and dad, and I want to have that for my kids and everything. But I don't know when, to be honest. I mean, I'm looking maybe around when I'm in a couple of years' time, maybe once I've gotten, once I've got my own place with my boyfriend and everything, and when we eventually get engaged and married and everything, when it comes round. We both love kids and everything, we both want to have kids, but we're just at this point in time, we're not ready to be parents yet, because I want to live my life first, if you see me. I want to get to a place where I feel secure and safe, and I can look back and say I've actually enjoyed the first 30-40 years of my life. Well, not 40 years obviously, but the first 20-30 years of my life I really enjoyed, and now I can concentrate on having a family and giving my child in the future the best that I can give them, and hopefully having a happy life like I did and that I've had up until now and everything. So yeah, so it probably wouldn't be for a few years, to be in all honesty, but I do really want to have a family. I do want to get married and all that jazz and everything. So, but it's probably not going to happen for a little time, because we're still just trying to get in the first step of trying to get your own bloody place and everything. It's just a pain in the neck, to put it politely. So yeah, I hope that answers your questions there. Next question is from Joe Lusagnet. What are your current thoughts on Pendulum Summon? Will you possibly be using it in your future Blue Eyes deck? Right, my thoughts on Pendulum Summoning. I was planning to do a video about Pendulum Summon, but I'm not entirely sure how it works in its entirety, so I've put that off for the moment, since Pendulum Summon is still kind of pretty much up in the air at the moment about some of the rulings and everything. I'd rather not give out wrong information and get the whole thing wrong and all that. So, however, Pendulum Summoning seems pretty interesting. It definitely upgrades the game to a new level, and it seems to be quite a powerful move. I wouldn't say, from what I've seen, there are some broken moves that I've seen with some decks and everything, but it seems to be a really powerful risky game tech from what I've seen, because from what I've heard and everything, you can summon out a huge bunch of monsters in one turn, but all it takes is a Bottomless Trap Hole, a Solemn Warning, or even an MST to target those monsters, and that's your advantage gone in one moment. So any cards that can stop the summoning in any way can really damage it, but at the same time, if it pulls off successfully, then you can get a lot of summons and everything, so it seems to be really interesting. I don't know if I'll be using it for the Blue Eyes deck though, because there aren't that very many cards out that support it at the moment. We've only got a few basic things obviously to get the grasp and everything, but I might use in the future, because I've learned previously from dissing when Synchros and XYZs first came out. I dissed them and I thought, oh, for God's sake, they've ruined the game and blah de blah, but I never thought along the lines of other people where, oh, that's it, this game's too OP, I'm quitting, that's it, I'm not playing Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. I've never been like that, but I've been wary of what those cards were like. But once I tried them myself, then obviously I liked them, started using them, and now look at me now, I use pretty much a bit of everything. And with Pendulum Summoning, it's probably going to be the same thing. I probably won't use it at first until I see what it can do and what kind of support they'll probably do for the dragon support and other things like that. But it is very interesting, it looks pretty awesome, but I think we should reserve judgment until we've actually seen it properly introduced into the game and actually really in action and everything. So, but that's just my personal opinion. Wait and see what happens. I think that's the best attitude to have for the moment. Okay. Next question is from Underground members. Nice to see you guys here. In the long run, what do you want out of Yu-Gi-Oh? That is a very, very, very good question there, my friend. Oh, I don't think there's anything I want out of Yu-Gi-Oh in the long run. I don't know if you mean like by my channel or anything. I've always seen Yu-Gi-Oh as a fun game. It's been a way for me to really relax with people and really get to know people better and have a lot of fun and everything. It's the one game that has really made me happy to play, happy to be myself and everything. So I suppose that the thing, if you want me to talk about the long run, I think I just want to be able to enjoy the game as it evolves and everything, and just keep being able to have fun and everything, because I think that's a very important part of the Yu-Gi-Oh is to have fun. I mean, of course there's people who focus entirely on winning and everything, but that's another argument for another day. But there's nothing wrong with enjoying a game, because that's what games are about. The games are there to be beaten and to have fun in doing it and everything. So, but if you were talking about something a bit more serious than that, I'm not entirely sure what I want out of Yu-Gi-Oh in the long run. I just want to be able to look back on Yu-Gi-Oh if it eventually ever does die out and everything, or if I ever do leave the game or thing, I'll be able to look back and say, you know what, that was a brilliant game. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I made a lot of new friends there. It was a very diverse game. All that sort of thing. I want to look back and say, I really enjoyed Yu-Gi-Oh when it was a part of my life back then. I suppose that's the way I would put it, I suppose. I hope that answers your question, Underground member, okay? Alright, next question is from Martin Lucina. What is your opinion on Bujins? Also, have you played against them before, and how did you do? Well, I'm actually not very familiar with Bujins. I don't think I've ever played against them. I have played against Ghost Tricks, but I've never actually played against Bujins, and I'm not actually too familiar with them. I've been, especially, and with an earlier question about that new dragon archetype or something as well, I've actually been out of the game for a little while, so I'm not familiar with these cards and everything. Apparently the Bujins are quite a good deck and are quite devastating and everything. There is actually one Bujin card I was looking at just out of curiosity, and I really like it. I would like to get it myself, and that's Amaterasu, because she's based on the Japanese mythical sun goddess, and she's actually got a very good effect. But as for everything else and how the deck works and that, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't duelled them against them yet. I probably will in the future, knowing my luck, because every time I say I haven't duelled against them yet, a few days later I'll duel against them. So yeah, I hope that answers your question there. I'm just saying I can't really give it an answer because I don't know very much about them. I'm probably going to go and research that in a moment or two right after I've done this video. Right, next question is from DarkPatrician84. Nice to see you again, Richie. I had a question I wanted to submit, but I can't remember what it was. That's okay. If you remember for our next Q&A, just post it there then. What is your favourite duel from every Yu-Gi-Oh series so far? Well, good question. As I mentioned in one of your videos there, I'm actually planning to do a video on what's my favourite duels from each series, so an actual proper video, but I'll give you one from each series at the moment. And from the original Duel Monsters, my favourite has to be Kaiba vs Yugi in Duelist Kingdom, when they're on top of the roof. And they're battling for the star chips to enter Pegasus Castle. That would definitely have to be my favourite because, well, one, you see Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon for the first time. Two, you see Kuriboh in action for the first time. And even though it's broken rules and everything, it's still pretty damn awesome to watch. Three, it's a very intense duel. I mean, even though Kaiba doesn't really reveal to Yugi and that why he's battling for the star chips and everything, Yugi and that are made to think he's just being a pompous douche, basically. Yugi's fighting to get his grandpa, Kaiba's fighting to get Mokuba, and you actually see him, you see Kaiba in such an emotional state that you feel really sorry for him, but it's like if you had just explained why you were doing it in the first place, you probably wouldn't have had to go through this. But it was a really intense emotional duel, and when the first time I ever watched it, I was truly shocked that Yugi lost. I was like, no way. I mean, for Kaiba to go to that length to win the duel and everything, it's like, yeah, well, anyway, that, what I mean, I'll probably explain in more detail when I do the actual video of my top 10 favourite, or top favourite Yu-Gi-Oh duels and everything, but that's definitely my favourite out of the original, the Duelist Kingdom arc, especially. It was just an amazing duel. From GX, is definitely going to be Judai versus Yubel. in the last part of Season 3. Definitely Judai versus Yubel in Season 3. Oh, excuse me a minute, guys. Hi everybody, sorry about that. Mum's just gone out. Mum's just gone out, and the dog. Well, the dog was here. She just buggered off over there. Zeb. What was it? GX. Yeah, the Yubel versus Judai series, because it first started off as, you know, Judai wanting to. Do you mind not doing that to my bed, please, dog? You've been out. Anyway, because at first Judai wanted to stop Yubel and destroy her and everything, but when he realised that she was just misguided and made mad because of the Light of Destruction and everything. Zip, you are moving my camera, stop it! With the Light of Destruction and everything, she was driven mad from that. He then changed his mind and wanted to save her, which is, you know, interesting. It's kind of a parallel with, I suppose the only way I can describe it is like with Yami and Yugi. They never wanted to destroy their opponents, they would always try and redeem their opponents. And Judai kind of does that with his own opponents and everything, but especially with Yubel. It's really shown out with Yubel, and Yubel was such an amazing character anyway, and everything, you know, she was one of my favourite characters out of the GX series, and to see her play her own true deck finally, you know, after all the different other decks she played and everything, it was pretty awesome to see it in action and everything. That would definitely be my favourite from GX, definitely. From 5Ds, oof. I think it would have to be from Season 1 again. I think my favourite would have to be Yusei versus Akiza or Aki in the pre-duel, the preliminary duels before 5 signers are chosen and everything. That was really intense. I mean it was quite an emotional duel, because, you know, Aki was trying to fight back against the kindness that Yusei was showing her, and Yusei was like, you know, I'm trying to show you don't have to fight alone, you don't have to be afraid of these powers and everything. And it was like a step for Aki, because she's my favourite female duelist. It was a first step for her to accepting who she really was and everything. And, you know, Yusei was just showing how kind and gentle he could be. You know, he was willing to go as far as he could in order to save somebody and all that. So I think that was my favourite out of the 5Ds, definitely. You know, because, you know, it only lasted 2 episodes, but hey, it was a very good duel. I really enjoyed it, you know, and, you know, Aki really took a big step in that episode, I think, and as a result, for the rest of the series afterwards, she started to really become more herself rather than the Black Rose, I suppose, is the way I can describe it. From Zixel, now I've only watched like the first half of Zixel. I haven't seen any of the Barian arc as of yet. From the first season, if you like, ooh, that's a good one actually. I think it would have to be, it'd have to be Kaito versus Astral, I think. When they first meet inside the key and everything, that was a really good duel, because Astral was trying to battle back against everything, but Kite was outdoing him and everything, and, you know, and then the power of Zixel activated and everything. That was a pretty awesome episode, so I think I'd have to choose that one. That was pretty good. I really enjoyed that one. So yeah. Answers your question there, Dark Magician 84. Next question is from Akira2805. If you had to choose a Yu-Gi-Oh series era to live in, which would it be, why, and what deck would you choose in that to run in that era as a signature deck? Well, that's a good question. I'm torn between the original series, of course, because it's Blue Eyes White Dragon. It would be Blue Eyes White Dragon in there, no doubt about that. And I think the other series would definitely have to be the 5Ds, and I'd probably run the Black Rose Dragon deck. You're probably surprised to hear me say that, but I really liked Akiza. She was really awesome, and I liked the Black Rose Dragon deck and the plant deck and everything. It's actually very close between Yusei's Stardust deck as well. I think it would definitely be Akiza's Black Rose deck and everything, because that was a pretty awesome deck. You know, it was just really, really good. And, you know, Black Rose Dragon doesn't have to be used for its blowing up ability all the time. It does have a secondary ability when mixed with plants and everything, and, you know, it's a pretty powerful effect when used right. So I think it would be those. So it would be a tie between the original series, and it would definitely be Blue Eyes White Dragon. More than likely I would go for that series because it is Blue Eyes White Dragon. And 5Ds, and it would be Akiza's deck, I think. Black Rose Dragon deck, definitely from there. So yeah, it would definitely be those. Next is from CastIWolf07. Hope you're doing okay, Emma. You always give good, thought-provoking answers. Well, thank you very much. Okay, question 1 is, out of all the Lightsworn and Crystal Beasts, what is your favourite monsters of each archetype? Are you going to use any new cards in your deck to counter the pendulum summons, since they look quite broken? Which deck excites you every time when you face it? What is your favourite successor to the Blue Eyes, like Cyber Dragon, Red Dragon, Archfiend, Galaxy Eyes, etc, etc? And outside of the Yu-Gi-Oh for this one, have you ever read the Inherent Cycle trilogy, as in the Eragon books? Right, okay then. Out of the Lightsworn monsters, I would have to say I like Raikou, because he's a cute little bugger. Devastating but cute. And Lila, because she gets rid of spells and trap cards and she's a sorceress and everything. I think those two would definitely be my favourite. I mean, Judgment Dragon's pretty cool and everything, but oh, ouch. I think it would have to be Lila and Raikou for the Lightsworns. For the Crystal Beasts, it would have to be, well, Sapphire Pegasus, because it's my favourite gemstone in the world, and well, of course, it's Rainbow Dragon as well. I like Rainbow Dragon for that one, so I suppose it would be those monsters, I suppose. New cards in the deck to counter the pendulum summon. Well, as I said in an earlier question, I'm reserving judgment on the pendulum summoning until I actually see it properly in action and what it can really do, because we're still in like the beta stage, if you like, of it coming out and understanding it and everything. But more than likely in the future, I could potentially run something to counter it or use a way to get around it, but I don't know if I've mentioned this before to any of you. I'm not one for using a side deck, because I don't believe in using a side deck. That's just my personal opinion. But don't know, it depends. As I said, I'm just reserving judgment for the moment. Which deck excites you every time I face it? Not really. There's no real one deck that I get excited to try and beat and everything. I mean, every deck I go against, excites me to try and beat it, because I want Blue Eyes to do as well as it can and everything, even if it's against a really top tier 1, tier 0 deck and everything, I think when it goes against a tier 1 or tier 0, I get really excited about it, because I feel like if I can prove that, even if I just win one duel against that deck, it proves that Blue Eyes can beat it on occasion. But more than like 9 times out of 10 that doesn't unfortunately happen, but hey, it doesn't matter what kind of deck I go up against, it's always fun to go against, and I always do my best against it no matter what. Favourite successor to the Blue Eyes? Oh boy. I think it would have to be Galaxy Eyes, hands down, because it's just Blue Eyes upgraded, in my opinion, with more effects and everything. And I mean, we've got the Galaxy Eyes itself, which represents the normal Blue Eyes, and then we've got the Neo Galaxy Eyes, which represents the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon in some way, and then you could say Prime Dragon, or even the Tachyon Dragon to some extent, represent the Shining Dragon version. So I would definitely have to say Galaxy Eyes, hands down. I haven't actually read the Eragon books. I've seen the first Eragon film, which unfortunately I thought wasn't very good, sadly. I mean, just my own personal opinion. I haven't actually read the books. My little sister has, and she said she really enjoyed them, and they were far different from the film. Historical romances and fantasy adventure is mostly the kind of stuff that I like personally. So, but Eragon I definitely have not read, unfortunately. Okay, and final question is actually on my Facebook. Last Don P. Hey Emma, what do you think about Silent Doom in Blue Eyes? Right, Silent Doom in Blue Eyes is very good if you're planning on, especially if you're planning on like using the Blue Eyes as a resurrection tool and everything, like a Blue Eyes resurrection deck and everything. But you have to be aware it is a specific card, and it does have downsides that the monster cannot attack and everything. You have to be aware of that. It is a good card, but you have to really use it. It depends on how you build the deck and everything. It depends on how you use it and everything, I suppose. I mean, I've considered running it myself a few times, but it is a bit too specific for me to run in the current Blue Eyes build I have. But in resurrection decks or anything like that, it's probably a very good card to use, definitely. So, hope that answers your question. Anyway, that's it for this Q&A. I am so sorry it was a long video. But I do hope you enjoyed it. I hope I answered all your questions there. Movie Lover Boy, for your question there, if you want to ask that again in another Q&A, then do so. I should hopefully have a card or a couple of cards by then of what I would like, but at this current time I don't have anything, sadly, but oh well. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much again for all your questions, and we'll see you guys in the next video, okay? Take care now. Bye!